and welcome to Gravitas Wins Conversations. I'm your host, Joseph Jude. Whether you are an executive or an entrepreneur, you face two challenges all the time: how to solve problems that you are facing and how to capture new opportunities. You need all the leverage that you can gain to beat the competition. Visual thinking and communication is one such leverage. My guest today, Sathya, has made it as a mission to help executives and entrepreneurs in using visuals as one of the leverage. In today's conversation, we discuss tools, success stories, and ways you can get started. Hope the conversation is helpful to you. Hello, Satya. Welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Joseph. Glad to see you.
Satya, let's start with this. What was your backstory into visual thinking and communication?
Many would be able to relate to this. As with all, it happened because of COVID. Previously, I was having my own consulting agency. I was working with a business partner. Apparently, our business flopped because of COVID and variety of reasons. I didn't have any other thing to do. So only other opportunity I had was like, let me join Twitter and figure things out. And I discovered this amazing, really vibrant, creative community on Twitter. Maybe it's not that much as today it was earlier. And one of the person that I came across was Jack Butcher, and he had a wonderful handle and a brand called Visualize Value. Then I became so enamored by what he's doing. So he takes these wonderful concepts, like Stoicism philosophy, or especially he became very famous after taking Naval Ravikant's concepts and visualized it. And that kind of visualization was so appealing to me that I also wanted to create such, and that's how it became it started as a simple passion, and then subsequently I started making it. People started liking it. There came to a point where people started asking me like, "Can you do it for me?" And they paid me for it. then realized that hey, there is something in here. And, then we are here now. So yeah.
I'm glad that you picked something that you liked and you pursued it as a passion, and then it became a revenue stream. So I'm glad to hear that, Satya.
I sort of have a theory, so I call that as good fan and great fan. Like you can be a good fan of a lot of things, right? You can like music, you can like songs, etc., etc. Like the analogy that I gave is that like go to a hotel, you eat a manchi biryani, and you like it, you love it, you appreciate the chef, you give 5-star reviews. That's being a good fan. A great fan is like my mom. So what she will do is that she will ask like, what did you put in the biryani? What is the masala? What is the ingredient? And she would want to recreate that biryani at home. So you have to distinguish between like whether you're a good fan of that particular art form or a craft, and or a great fan. And great fan meaning that you can't help yourself not recreating it. And that is how you can find your niche or a little above passion, and you want to make a career out of it. So I became great fan of this micro visual, this atomic visual that people are talking about, and I wanted to recreate it. And I'm a good fan of many things. I'm a good fan of sketchnoting, I'm a good fan of writing, but I'm a great fan of this visual form of communication.
Thanks, Satya. We are just 5 minutes into the conversation, and I'm already getting a lot of value out of this. The good fan and the great fan for art form, basically.
Exactly.
I've heard this being said about creator. Like, I think there's Tim Ferriss talked about this 1,000 fans. I think he himself got it from somebody else, but then he always talks about 1,000 good fans for a creator to be in the creator economy. But what you are saying is you have to be a great fan of the art form,
Correct.
or of some particular venture, and then that is how you will try to understand everything about that and
Exactly.
study the top guys in that particular field and recreate it, and then you make it your own.
Exactly. It may be cliche to quote Steve Jobs here, but like Steve Jobs says, you need that enough passion, because point of a time it's going to become drudgery. It's going to be a huge challenge, whatever art form. The only thing that can help you to take the next step, then the next step is going to be the passion that you have for the craft. And if that passion is not there, you just have to let go. So if you're unable to face the challenge, then it's a craft that you may not want to pursue. And if you have that like gravitas, like you call it, to actually take the next step, then there is something in it. You are able to put up with the struggle, you are able to put up with the challenge. Then the mental model I'm just using is that good fan or a great fan. So I'm a good fan of a biryani. I don't want to cook biryani, but my mom is a great fan of a biryani.
Mm.
So you have to decide which type of fan you are. Yeah, so
Wonderful. And you cannot be a great fan of way too many things. You can be a good fan of many things.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Satya, you talked about, okay, you shared these things on the Twitter, and then some people said, can you do this for me? And then they paid. Can we talk a little bit about how did you make this as a business? How you have been growing this as a business? How are you finding your clients? Is it only via Twitter?
So majorly it came via Twitter, and it is coming via Twitter also. And fortunately, I had the gift of having a lot of inbound queries. So Twitter or LinkedIn or any social media, I think people underestimate the concept like the luxury that we have on Twitter. And so I used to be I wasn't in sales earlier, but I used to accompany salespeople as a manager, as a training coordinator, etc. And the physical sales cycle is such a drudgery.
Mm.
They'll ask you to wait and all those things. People don't understand the luxury that you have because of internet. You're actually placed on a pedestal just by
Mm.
writing some random words. You don't have to talk people. You don't have to have charisma. You're just putting your work out there, and you been literally have the opportunity of being looked by millions of people. I mean, if time favors, if algorithm favors, etc. And that visibility increases your credibility, increases the authority, and you're putting your skill in front of a huge audience. And if
Mm.
they're interested, they're going to call back. Or the other way around, you can always go and ask people, hey, I do such kind of things. Do you want to do such kind of things? Maybe you can do some sample work. Hey, I did something like this. So that's how I started earlier. For example, just like again, I'm going to take Jack Butcher's concept. He was nobody. He was literally nobody on Twitter. What he took is that he took Naval Ravikant's concept. He did it and he tagged Naval Ravikant on Twitter. So Naval Ravikant liked it and retweeted it, and that network effect basically blew his account up, blew his. Now he's one of those top level creators in the entire economy. So I also started mimicking it. I tagged few people. I mean, I also did something for Raval Ravikant. He didn't retweet it, but there were other people who were kind enough to like it, retweet it. They liked my style of doing it, and you basically increase that credibility and visibility on the platform. Eventually, there would be some people who might be interested. Hey, can you do it for me? Or you go and reach out to them. I can do it for you. How much would you pay? Like they do, like PayPal, like this. So you don't have to go to Upwork or whatever freelancing platform. I've never been there. I've never done this, all those things. So it has been such a this. Then what happened is that you do like a minimal, like a tier one service. So I'll do 5 visuals. Then after that, I'll not only do visuals, I'll also do schedule these visuals on your social media platform. I can be your ghost scheduler. I can help you plan your social media calendar. So you basically upsell certain other higher levels of services, and that's how it became. So instead of $100 service, it becomes $1,000 consulting, or even further. Then it became a retainer fee. At least that is what I am trying to grow. I mean, it worked last year. It's sort of been working this year also. I'm now currently focusing on, instead of doing $100 service at all, I'll no more do $100 service. I'll say I can do only $10, $1,000 service. If you want, you can join. So I'm offering it as a package. So each one for himself. You just have to figure that out for yourself. Every day is a learning. Then ultimately you get that moving. The momentum happens. So yeah.
I love it, Satya. Uh, Fine, you are here. You're talking about $1,000 offering as a
Mm,
service that you are talking about. But let's go back to the initial days. What
mm,
were some of the challenges that you faced when you said, "Okay, I'm going to do this as a business"?
mm.
So first, you started off as mimicking Jack Butcher. You are putting out your visuals. People liked it. Then you said, "Okay, I'm going to make this as a business."
Mm.
What were some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
No, but very practically, like you will not have cash flow like initially, right?
Mm.
You have to. That's the unfortunate apathy that every entrepreneur or solopreneur had to live with. I mean, 2021, I told myself that like, okay, this business is not working. The previous consulting business was not working, and might as well explore my creative avenue at least now. So I took, like everybody was on break, I believe, in 2021. So I gave myself the freedom to explore it. So that there was a buffer to me. I'm not kidding. Like I had a buffer. I had some amount of savings, so I wasn't like running hither and there. I wasn't desperate, etc., etc. So there was minimum buffer, and I also had a very minimalistic life. My family itself had a minimalist life, so we didn't have that much of a requirement. I didn't have a huge EMI to pay, so all those things. So I think you need to carefully understand your own cash flow requirement, then subsequently build that buffer and see whether you have that luxury to and I'm using the word luxury in a very pertaining way. So that's one thing. The second obvious thing is that actually mastering the craft itself. Okay,
Mm.
there are thousands of people who are trying to become somebody on Twitter, on social media, trying to make a business out of it. Not everybody can are able to make it. They go back and apply for a job, join back and all. It's nothing wrong in it, but again, you just have to put up with that. Both externally, you should have that buffer, and internally, you should also have that enough amount of grit to actually to put up with it. So these two things, I believe, you should.
Okay, Satya, you talked about mastering the craft.
Mhm.
Can we go a little deeper into it? How do you go about mastering the craft of, say, for example, in your case, visuals?
I didn't have a theory, but I later realized that it was validated by theory. So basically, collect, then copy, then subsequently create. So basically, collect like your own mini library of craft that you are a great fan of. So that's the thing. I believe we had done, like you also talked about mimic and then mastery. I think that's the same theory. You don't have to do it for everything. You do it for the thing that you are great fan of,
Hmm.
and subsequently you want to master it. So first you need to collect those great pieces that you like, then second, after that, you copy them, rework them. I was actually trying to recreate Jack Butcher's thing on a PowerPoint. I didn't know that something like Canva existed or Figma existed. I was trying to do it on PowerPoint. That's the medium that I know.
Hmm.
And in fact, a couple of earlier podcast interviews by Jack Butcher, I was literally stalking him. Like looking at what was the thing there. In earlier interviews, he was actually talking about the craft itself,
Hmm.
not the business part of it. So in the
Hmm.
craft, he actually says that, for example, I still remember he had an interview with David Perel, and David Perel was very pertaining and asking him, how do you create that particular visual? And he
Correct.
actually gives a demo. This is the quote. I break this quote. I have it on my Evernote. Then take a particular thing. I look at this like this, and I'm contrasting. This is how I do. I think he did it on a keynote, this one and all those things. He didn't know use fancy software or something like that, despite having a graphic designing degree. So you study them, then you copy and imitate them. Finally, everybody are derivative, and I try to become a poor version of Jack Butcher, and I became a better version of myself.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a fantastic way of putting it. Yes.
So yeah, that's how you do it. So you pick that craft and do it.
I love this particular example that you've given, Satya. So now let's move on to that visual side of it. Can you share some success stories somewhere where you have helped entrepreneurs, executives, anybody for that matter, in helping them think through or communicate visually, and you have been happy, they have been happy? Can you give me some success stories?
Yeah, sure. So I can quote like three practical examples, but before that, like the main outcome of this visual thinking, learning, communication process is clarity.
Hmm.
So clarity in understanding for myself, for my own learning, and also in communicating my ideas, thoughts to the other person. So the clarity is the ultimate goal, and understanding, comprehension. So this is the ultimate goal of visual thinking, or whatever it might be. I think any form of communication is for clarity, right? Like that's the idea. Here we are appending it visualization of the idea. So that's the main goal, and the intention is to whether it will increase my performance, whether it will increase my accelerate my learning, whether it will improve my creative capabilities, whether it will help me give my mental declutter. So this is the intentions around with which we are playing with. In that way, for example, I helped one of a CXO. He is actually a CMO, marketing guy. He was trying to launch his own business. So I helped him walk through his own ideas, through visual framing, thinking of his ideas. These are all the things and all those things. And we used a thing called Miro. Miro helps you to place ideas. So apparently he doesn't. His thinking is far more superior. That's what he discovered when he is working not on Obsidian, but rather than on Miro. I'm not saying this tool is better or that tool is better. Some things work better for you, your way of thinking, your brain, than the other tool. So you just have to like discover, rediscover, this is little better. Sometimes, sometimes what I try to do is that sometimes I take the notes in bullet form, then I also do a mind map, then I also put on
Mm.
Miro, so that the different tool and the interface makes you think little differently in a different manner. So it's nothing to do with drawing a human figure or being artistic, a beautiful flower or something like that. It's basically like playing with different interfaces of media where the information is processed by you. So that's one thing. Then another thing is that I had like this brilliant business coach. He's based out from a couple of them actually. They were based out from US. So I remember working with them. I was helping them with their social media marketing and all those things. Eventually, I realized that they also had a very strong spatial visual way of looking at things. I wouldn't say I helped them launch it, but I think I influenced them to launch a community for their upcoming this one. So he was a former disciple of Tony Robbins. So I was able to work with them. Another recent example that I would say is that I helped like a couple of my friends in designing their websites. So that is also another example. So again, designing websites, you can always do it linearly, but also you can do a mind map, blow it up. Each node is a page. So there's a menu bar. This is about services and all those things. And what happened with the NGO that I was doing is that they realized that they were duplicating the content multiple pages. So it will be in the about page also, it will be in the service pages also. They were able to see that only after creating that mind. So you can also do a reverse outlining of a particular content using mind maps spatially. Then they realize that duplication. Then they realize that you can simply hyperlink this page to that page. You don't have to like create. So those kind of things could happen if you use such visual thinking learning tools. So yeah.
Okay. Satya, thanks for sharing all of those things. What are the mistakes you have seen when people are starting in this particular journey of
Okay.
visual thinking, or even communication? What are the mistakes you have seen people do?
Oh, I think we overthink first of all, and get overwhelmed. I think the issue itself is with the visual thinking and learning industry. In some ways I don't attach myself to the industry because if you see a lot of illustrator types are in the visual thinking and learning industry. No, don't misunderstand me that I'm bad mouthing them. But the thing is that like the immediate thing is that they make this beautiful,
Mm.
aesthetically pleasing illustrations because they come from an artistic finance background. They draw these beautiful human figures and all those things. I think that's one end of the spectrum. Okay, but on the other end, you don't have to become that amazing illustrator. So to make visual thinking, you don't have to have an iPad procreate. So for example, I can't draw. So like let me put that I can't draw. So that's why I like people like Dan.
Mm.
Okay, he very purposefully draws, for a better way of saying, ugly.
Mm, mm, mm,
It's
mm.
just like a one doodle kind of a thing. So it's not about the image, it's about the idea. It's not about the drawing, it's about the concept behind the drawing. That's much more important. So don't overthink, don't be overwhelmed by the plethora of beautiful sketch note visuals that you saw. That's again the reason why I like Jack Butcher. He uses the geometric shapes. Okay, minimalistic geometric shapes. Otherwise, there will be 10 types of geometric shapes. That's all. So you mix and match with it, and it's a thinking behind the design, not the design itself. And very well, you can recreate almost everything that Jack created, that I created on a PowerPoint. So that it's not the designing part, as I said. It's actually the thinking part, how you interpret and reinterpret the concept. So that said, don't don't over embellish your thing. Don't try to beautify it. Don't add colors. Just do white background, black color, then you can add
Mm,
color.
mm.
Don't overthink your font. And in fact, like, so that's the reason why I like dual chrome or monochrome kind of an art form. That's what I sort of understand also. I'm not a graphic designer. I'm never going to be a graphic designer. I'm actually an information communicator, and I'm using visuals to communicate those information. So that is my. It's just a vehicle. It's not a. It's not my thing. So if you come to my workshop, I think one of like we recently conducted. One of those people said that like, thank God, Satya, you said that you don't have to draw. Because I was assuming that this in this workshop you will teach me to draw and all. No, I don't know to draw first of all. So we can simply use the existing visual library and basically arrange that visual library as long as it makes sense to you and to the audience you are communicating. So we are looking at impact, not entertainment. So
Mm.
that's the thing. So yeah.
Lovely, lovely. Satya, this visual thinking or visual communication, both of these forms, when is it most effective and when don't use it or it is less suitable?
So I think it's most effective when we are in that awareness phase. So you are elaborating, you are making
Mm.
sense making space either for yourself or for an audience. This one maybe more elaborate long form, well, like a technical document that you want to preserve for future reference. Maybe there you can append it with a visual, but obviously you need a long form content also. Again, this is another sort of like a curse of this visual thinking community. It's not visual versus verbal, right? It's actually a
Mm.
combination of things. So we are looking at understanding. We are not trying to create an like artificial war between the visual form or or a verbal form. So it's always best to go along with it together. So this is sort of like a dichotomy that we may could avoid. So during the awareness phase you can use it, then subsequently add text. Makes more sense.
You already talked about some of the tools that you're using: Obsidian, Canva, Miro. If I'm starting out, what are the tools that you would encourage me to start with? And what are the tools that I can add for both for thinking as well as for communication?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, glad that you differentiated thinking and communication. So that's one thing. I mean, obviously, the first thing is a notebook. So I'm a very big notebook coder. Like you start writing, like bullet. It in itself is a different way of bullet writing, like listing.
Mm.
It's in itself a different form of looking at your content. So which otherwise would be paragraph way of writing things. So that's one thing. The second tool or process that I would recommend is mind mapping. It seems to be the most accessible form of visual thinking. You don't have to draw. You're just placing existing phrases, keywords on a radial structure. So mind mapping seems to be most accessible, at least in my purview. So even if mind mapping doesn't work, there's something called cluster mapping, which is little bit before mind mapping. So in English writing classes, so these are all pre-writing exercises. So mind mapping, cluster mapping, listing. Then after that you write the actual essay. So that is how like English
Mm-hmm.
professors teach this one. So these all this pre-writing exercise are some form, if you look at, are non-linear, because it's trying to capture the non-linear way of looking at things. Or at the best you can use it like an index card. You can write it on points and all those things. Now there are digital versions of it. So there is something called Xmind. I'm an ambassador of Xmind. You can also use Canva itself has a whiteboard format where you can dump ideas. There are like digital sticky notes that you can start using. Miro is another thing which you can also use as a collaborative thing. Miro's power comes when it is collaborative thing, and that's why. So you can use it as a group thinking platform. And Canva, obviously I also use it mainly for creating art where I'm communicating to an external
Mm.
audience. So Notion, I use it for organization, document organization. So these are the wide variety of tools. Again, just a caveat: don't be stuck with the tool. Obviously, I think every so you start somewhere. Be attached to the process, and more importantly, be attached to the problem that you're trying to solve, rather than the tool itself. Whichever process that you feel works best for you, just go. So that's my suggestion.
Okay. Satya, okay, I have started using any of these tools. I have started to create some of the visuals, and I'm also sharing some of those visuals. As you said, now there's a whole bunch of sea of people who have come in this particular visual space. How can I stand out? How do you stand out as a visual communicator?
So I'll actually reverse it. Like, why do you want to stand out?
Hmm.
And do you want to stand out for like a particular set of audience? I mean, if you know that, then it's much more little more clear. In fact, I mean, you may end up offending a lot of people.
Mm.
So I think that we have to live with it. Like there are enough people who have criticized me. Like, what is this? This is not even visual. Like you are not even using multiple colors. You are not drawing. You are literally taking from existing library. Why are you using Canva? You should use Figma and create your own this one. No, I don't want to use Figma and create my own like a system. This one. Figma, I mean, Canva already has that library. I'm just going to like steal it from them, and the my creativity is the placement of it. Every one of us are going to face such kind of criticism, as long as you appeal to that particular set of audience that you want to address and attack and communicate. I earlier had a thing of becoming this influencer, like having like 1 million followers. Then I wanted, like, at least let me become a micro influencer. Then I thought at least I should get 10,000 followers. Then I'm thinking of, no, I don't want to become both of them. Can I make money leveraging my creativity?
Hmm.
So so it's not about followership, it's not about standing out, it's not about the likes and all those things. And it seems that I appeal to a certain type of audience, and as long as that cash flow is met in some ways, I think I'm happy, my client is happy. Can I solve this problem for myself, for the client, using this vehicle, using this tool? If that is done, then I'm sort of happy. Yeah, so yeah.
Satya, over the entire period that I've been talking to you for the last 30 minutes or so, one thing that comes off really well is the clarity that you have.
Okay.
So, one of the things that you talked about is the benefit of visual thinking and visual communication is that clarity. It seems to me that for every question that I ask, there's a very, very clear thinking and answer. So for me, it looks like that the proof is here. You seem to
Yeah.
have that particular gain, that particular clarity. So I'm glad with that. Satya, I'll ask this particular question before I move on to the next segue to the next one. It is not just one offering that you have. It is not just the one revenue stream that you have. You're making this visual. You already talked about a tiered one where you are only making a visual, then you are offering a service and a consulting. You also sell digital goods via Gumroad. You have written a book. Talk to me about how are you thinking about having this multiple revenue streams? How do you put your work in all of those multiple revenue stream making ventures? Talk to me a little more about that.
Oh yeah. So I mean, first of all, like, I mean, I can say that like it's all planned from day one. So it wasn't. If somebody's saying like that, they are lying. So I didn't have any grandiose plan, but basically I was experimenting. Then realized that there's a method to the madness. Apparently, I think you're one of the ones who introduced me to the concept of value ladder. And you have a $10 product, you have a $100 product, you have a $1,000 product. So like, again, I'm looking at it as a pyramid. And it sort of struck me. And you have multiple frameworks, and I think you also gave me another better way of framing it as the barbell strategy.
Mm.
You not only have a $10 product, you also have this heavy lifting $1,000 project. The sales cycle is going to be really, really long. It's going to be high touch, high value, and at the same time, you don't need like 100 or even 1,000 people. You just need like 2 to 3 customers, clients, $1,000 or a $2,000 client per year, and you're sorted. Then you do it, repeat it the next year or something like that. Then the $100 could be like a lead generation for it. The $10 could be even more version of it. And of course, you will have free versions of it. A tweet is a free version of leading your audience. I think you had a beautiful metaphor, like entrance to your stadium.
Mm.
Again, look, that's why I like this visual metaphors. So you have helped me to think in that way. So multiple gateways. So, and you have this one of those gateways. I also have newsletters, and obviously, so how can you put your work before your audience through social media, through LinkedIn, through your newsletter, then lead them to buy your $10 product, then lead them to buy your $100 service or a $200 workshop, then $200 workshop converts into a consulting gig. So this is the sort of like a path. I think anybody who's listening to your podcast would already know this. And I mean, I could tell that it works. I could tell that, validate the fact that, yeah, it seems to make sense. And you need to have this plethora of things. But the mistake that I made earlier is that I went from a $10 product to $1,000 product. I think now it makes far more sense to actually have a $1,000 product and downgrade and have a $10 product. Now, if at all I'm doing it in a more intelligent way, so three things will happen. So $1,000 product, obviously, it's a high ticket, high launch. You will make money far more quicker. The competition is less. You don't have to have this so-called online credibility. You have to find a friend of a friend of a friend who will be able to have a problem that you can do. So that's one thing. The second thing that will happen is that you will actually be in the trenches.
Mm.
You will actually learn the problem, that you're not reading some ebook and understanding the problem. You're actually working with the client and understanding the problem deeply. So you're increasing the authority. And third, more importantly, what will happen is that you'll identify certain patterns in the problem. So if you work with 5 clients, you'll understand that these are all the problems they are facing. Then it will help you to make your $100 offer, then $10 offer. So if I'm doing it smart way, I would recommend everybody. I know it will not be an easy task,
Mm.
but this I feel that much more a smarter way of doing it. And of course, we all would love to have $100 product selling to millions of people, but you have only one James Clear, you have only one Justin Welch. So apparently, it doesn't work for a lot of people. Again, if you want to take that route, please ensure that know that James Clear has been writing for past 20 years, and
Ah,
only in the past 4 5 years he became this huge success. So let's be mindful of that. So,
yeah.
so
The overnight success is always a decade in making.
exactly, even more. Yeah. Many times.
Satya, if I may press you a little more, you talked about this $1,000 product offering, $100 offering, $10 offering. In your own business, how would that look like? What's that $1,000 offering? What's that $100 offering? What's that $10 offering?
Oh yeah, it's very good. So $10 is my like a curated PDF and Notion document of all my visuals. So previously it
Mhm.
was there. Like now it's no more selling. I think there was a peak of the visual this one. Then I think it plateaued, and so I made some money out of that. That led me to like people asking me like, can you do visuals for me? There
Mm.
was a time and season when people were asking me for visuals. So I would do like previously I was doing like I'll do two visuals for you. So $100, $200. Now I offer it as a package saying that no, I'll not do two visuals. It's too much of I'll do bunch of 10 visuals. You don't have to pay me 1,000, maybe you can pay me 700. So I offer it as a package, and with a caveat because it's high ticket and the conversation is much more this one. Then slowly this is also panning out, and what is much more making sense now is social media support. So I'll not only create visuals, I'll also help you in creating I have a G sheet. So I shared them. This is a G sheet that I have. I can help you to do that. So I have like a couple of clients that I'm working with. I'm not doing a marketing strategy.
Mm.
I'm simply helping them. You have existing content. I'm repurposing your content as a thread, as a visual, as an infographic, etc. for your audience. It would help you to bring more newsletter subscribers, more Twitter followers. Then eventually they might buy whatever offering you are. It could be a course, it could be an app that I'm selling, that you are selling. So that's the next level kind of a thing. Again, as I said, it's not something that I had planned day one. It eventually happened. Hey Satya, can you do it also?
Mm,
Then
mm,
you
mm,
realize that okay, these are the things even people don't know.
mm,
Then if people don't know, that's an opportunity you can capture and say that. Like for example, people don't know there is a you can automate social media scheduling. People just don't know. I mean, we take it for granted. People don't know that you can automate. There are multiple automation tools that you can schedule it on Twitter, Hypefury, so that you can. And I do the work for one day, and I can schedule it for the
mm.
next 10 days or something like that. That support people needed. Converting a blog article into a thread itself is a requirement. So you just have to find that particular thing, and you learn the trick as you do that consulting, and to do that. So reason again, there might be an issue where maybe I'm oversimplifying certain things,
Mm.
but the reason is that I may want to the listener who is listening not to feel overwhelmed that it is some like you have to have like a master plan to do something. You start somewhere, you figure out something, and you find a way out. And sometimes this way there will be a deadline, then you come back and do another way of looking at it. And so that's so now
Lovely.
this quarter, for example, I think we had a conversation earlier before. So I've been experimenting with doing a lot of live experiences. By live experience, I'm talking about workshops. So I'm doing less of $1,000 gigs, and $10 I have tried out. So I no more want to do the $10 thing. I'm doing $100 workshops. So where
Mm.
people are coming for it, and these workshops are converting far more efficiently into $1,000 gigs.
Mm.
So some 20 people come. We got two clients from the past 3 months. The workshops we have done like five workshops. So two clients, 3 months out of workshop is actually a good. So 100 people we have attacked. So 2% conversion rate. So it's actually a good conversion if you look at. So I'm using workshops both as its own standalone revenue stream, as well as could be a after effect is consulting, etc., etc. So that's the point.
Fantastic roadmap that you're laying out for anybody who wants to start, not only from a visual business point of view, but for any creativity also. This is a fantastic roadmap, Satya. Thank you. It's just a small, half an hour masterclass on doing business online. So I'm grateful for whatever insights that you've shared, Satya. Satya, For every guest, I ask three rapid fire questions. So, so here we go. What's
Sure.
the kindest thing anyone has done for you?
Okay, I mean, I could think of my father and mother. So kindest thing is accepting your mistake.
Mm,
That's a kindest.
okay. This podcast is about leadership, Satya. In that sense, can you share what do you think as the best leadership quality and who has manifested in your life?
I think I had my one team leader. I think I can share his name. His name is Krishnamurthy, and in my career trajectory, I was working in a profile that did not suit me at all. So despite being bright and all those things, I was not fit for that particular role. So I literally had to run away from that job, and then in the same organization, I was basically transferred to another job. So he actually, I remember like the first week we had a conversation. He said that, Satya, I face the same issue,
Mm.
and then subsequently after that I found my niche here, my thing here. And previously I was assuming that I have to master whatever was given to me. Then he was the one who told me, no, you have to master what comes to you. So you
Mm.
don't have to master everything. For example, I'm not a good manager
Mm.
per se, but I'm better at desktop work, for saying it in a broad manner. So I like intellectual challenge rather than like convincing somebody, or the sales kind of negotiating skills, or people. So you have to find that thing that comes to you. And that the fact that that person Krishnamurti was able to empathize with me and share it with me, that he was also considered a failure when he also started his career journey, and tell that like now he's leading the entire unit. And that tells me, that gave me, so that's a leadership, I believe. That's sort of.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Finally, Satya, what is your definition of living a good life?
Oh, okay, that's a big question. When you can sleep calmly in the night, maybe, maybe that's a definition. I'm not sure whether it is Bernard Shaw or somebody like that. Like you tire yourself out, and then the sleep. You don't have to wait for the sleep. The sleep comes to you,
Mm.
something like that. I mean, I went through a sort of a mini crisis earlier. I couldn't sleep. I have to force myself to sleep. I used to sleep like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I think some changes are happening now, where I don't have to force myself to sleep. The sleep is coming. I think that could be like a good definition of life, at least currently in my season. That's how I'm defining.
Thank you. Thank you, Satya. Thank you for sharing your insights about visuals, building a business, and your life also. Thank you so much, Satya.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for all the mentoring support. Like, I mean, not many people would know that this is not the first conversation we are having. We have had multiple conversation, and you've been guiding, and you're one of those rare people who understand both the creator economy at a global, international level, but also an Indian mindset. I think, and you have been really helpful in that way. For that, I really appreciate. Never ever thought that I will be a guest on your podcast, but after a lot of scheduling and rescheduling, I think we finally made it, and really appreciate you doing this, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Satya. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Can I request you to share the key takeaways from our conversation? If you liked our conversation, please share the podcast with others. Have a life of wins.